What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today we're taking a look at the all-new Diamondback Jack by Jack Wolf Knives. The Diamondback Jack is the locking version of the Venom Jack, and I'm insanely hyped for this one, mainly because the Venom Jack has quickly become probably my favorite slip joint model that they've ever done. And right out of the tube, I could tell that it translated really well to this locking model. Just insanely good action, really well executed, and I think it has the potential to become my favorite locking model as well. Right now that spot belongs to the Gunslinger Jack, and I'm not ready to dethrone it quite yet, but it really wouldn't surprise me that after a couple months of carry, if this one claws its way to the top of the list. This is going to be available simultaneously on the Jack Wolf website, as well as at authorized dealers on Friday, March 14th. And regular locking model pricing applies, so these will be $349. And I'll make sure to leave a link to where you can find these down in the description of the video. It's also going to be the best place to see pictures of the various configurations. I'll of course name those, but obviously the pictures are going to do them way more justice if you're curious what those might look like. This is the green linen micarta version, and this is by far the most kind of rough and tumble or rugged looking of the bunch. We got a lot of really fancy options this time, so if you're looking for that more kind of earthy, rugged look, this is definitely the way to go. I think this turned out great. They pair the green linen micarta with tumbled and blasted titanium on both our bolsters as well as our hardware. We also get that stonewash finish. Obviously the finishes of the titanium and the blade are going to be a little bit different with the different covers, so if that's something that's important to you, make sure you're paying attention to that and not just choosing your favorite color, because that can vary from model to model. And so they pair this one also with these really great accent pieces in the anodized titanium backspacer and pocket clip. I would describe the color as like a mocha or cappuccino. You might even describe it as like a bronze color, but to me it's got a little bit more of a brown tone to it that I think pairs really nicely with the green micarta. Worth noting that right out of the tube, my micarta was super light, almost like a natural micarta. You can already seeing it starting to darken in certain spots where my fingers are touching a little bit more, especially noticeable on the backside because the pocket clip is protecting some of that. So that will darken up with time. If you want to speed that up or just even it out, you can add some oils yourself to darken it up right out of the box. But I'm just going to kind of let mine naturally age. I think it's got a nice finish to it and kind of excited to see what that turns into. And so that's definitely worth noting as well. Before we get too far into the specifics on the knife, I'm going to pause here so we can admire the artwork, this time by Sean Tiffany, since this is the first run of the Diamondback Jack. And one of the things that I really like about this one is it has a more kind of earthy, rugged feel to it as well. None of the bright colors that you see on a lot of the tubes, it went with this really like kind of rougher overall look. So we've got Jack with that diamondback wrapped around his shoulder, and then even the earthier tones on the lettering rather than the typical bright tones that we see on the tube art. And so I really appreciate that, and I also like that it kind of matches with the configuration that I have here. That's something that I like to see sometimes with the different cover materials matching up with the tube art, and so really like that as well. I love the sticker, maybe even more than the tube art. We have just the Diamondback by himself with the word toxic there. You do get two stickers. One of them is still sitting underneath the book flattening out, so I only have one here, but you do get two as well. And of course our POG, which features our tube art but in a flattened, more condensed form, so maybe you can see that a little bit better, read it a little bit better. And on the back it does say Diamondback Jack. Inside the tube we also have our cleaning cloth as well as a plug, which I left inside the tube. This month I got gray, and you can see it has that great Jack Wolf logo here, and I left the plug inside the tube, but make sure you don't lose that if you're planning on swapping out your pocket clip. That is going to be on the bottom somewhere near the styrofoam and those little silica packets, and so if you're just dumping it out, make sure you try and keep track of that so it doesn't end up getting lost, because it is in a very, very small bag. Now onto the knife itself. Very mid-sized EDC knife, 7.5 inches or so in overall length, so great sizing. In typical fashion, it is a little bit larger than its slip joint counterpart, and so that's been the case across the board, so we might as well compare it. So again, this is about 7.5 inches. The slip joint is about an inch shorter, so this is the Venom Jack in the toxic green. Really, really great looking. Another one that I think matches the theme really well, and we'll get that open and laid down on its side. Worth noting, actually I'm going to try and lay it over the top here as well, that it's about an eighth of an inch thicker as well, and so it does fill out the hands just a little bit better. It's a noticeable difference in that grip. But if we take a look at the length, it's about an inch in difference. I would imagine about half an inch in the handle and another half an inch or so in the blade, although I didn't measure out the Venom Jack or reference back to my notes from that video, but you can just kind of do the eyeball test and see that it's about a half-inch difference in each. So not a significant difference, but it is noticeable in hand. And so we'll get this closed up and out of the way. and go back to our Diamondback Jack. So 4.2 inches on the handle. So that extra half an inch or so does make a pretty big difference. The Venom Jack, I was able to get the full 4-finger grip and I thought it was very comfortable. But when you compare them side by side, this is definitely even more comfortable. I just have a little bit more of that relaxed grip. You do have the pocket clip to contend with now, but you really don't notice it, or at least I don't notice it in my hand shape and in my grip. And so don't notice it, but I am able to get that more relaxed grip, still get all 4 fingers around here. And that great handle shape keeps you from sliding backwards. You can see it swells up at the butt near that bottom bolster, and then we have the jimping from our flipper tab at the end of the knife, and it really just locks you into place really nicely, not sliding around. Really excellent ergos on this one, and that's one of the great things about this design. It's modeled after a trapper, and so you can kind of see the DNA of a trapper in the handle. Some slight modifications there, but very similar. But the one thing where it has a clear advantage over the typical trapper is that it's a single blade knife. The thing that sucks about trappers is that the second blade always gets in the way and ruins your ergo. So you have this beautiful curve of your handle, but you can't really utilize it because that flat of the back of the blade is interrupting the ergos. And so this is going to be significantly more comfortable than your typical trapper. And it's also a little bit thinner as well. And so really love the ergos on this handle. As far as our blade, we also get a different blade shape than you would typically see on a trapper in our Wharncliffe. Typical trappers have a clip point and a spade blade, so I love seeing that there. I love Wharncliffes. It's not maybe not the best all-around knife shape, but it's my favorite knife shape, and so love seeing a Wharncliffe here. And that's about 3.35 inches. It ends up being about a 2.9 inch cutting edge when you account for the sharpening choil and our tang here. S90V on the steel. Again, beautiful hollow grind on here. And again, mine has a stone wash, but which version you get is going to kind of dictate what the finish of your blade is. You also have this really great fuller that's sort of in the place of the nail nick, and you can use that for deployment. So this has a beautiful smooth action and really great acoustics. And so one thing I really like about this model, one reason I think it has a lot of potential to become my favorite, is it's the most natural. I feel like my finger naturally finds the placement of that fuller, and I don't have to look for it at all. It's just naturally reaching for that exact position. And so it's not like I have to kind of line it up ahead of time, make sure my nail is in there. I can just kind of reach down, flick it open, and it's always in the exact spot that I need it. And so that just works extremely well for me. It's my favorite way to open a knife, and the placement on it's absolutely perfect. The detent on here is perfect, and it's incredibly smooth and snappy, just great acoustics on it as well. We also have that flipper tab that's really natural and easy to use, very reminiscent of the Gunslinger Jack. And so they've experimented with a couple different styles of flipper tabs, and they all work a little bit differently based on the rest of the design of the knife. I think this feels the most like the Gunslinger Jack, which was a lot of people's favorites. And so if that's something you like, this one works very naturally. I'm going to stop talking for a moment so we can listen to the acoustics as well, because it has a really great snap to it. And so we'll do that one more time. And so just this really great snap. It's very kind of crisp sound to it. It's not like as tingy as the Gunslinger, but I really enjoy the acoustics on this, so it makes it a lot of fun to fidget with. This micarta version is also ultra light. I don't think there's that much variation between the different cover materials, but I would imagine the cover materials do make some difference, as does like a DLC coating may add 1/100 of an ounce or so. And so this one weighed in at 2.84 ounces. Again, I don't really know the exact the weight of the other ones. You can probably find it on the website, but they're going to be pretty similar overall. Overall, like I said, I think this has a lot of potential to become my favorite locking model that they've done so far. It's just really good. It feels great in my hand, and it's just a natural kind of action for my hands that just automatically gravitates towards opening it very quickly and easily, and so I really find that super satisfying. Now, as far as the other configurations go, obviously we have the green linen micarta, but there's 5 configurations in total. So we also get a crystallized green titanium, and that one looks amazing. So one of the cool things, they did crystallized purple titanium before, but one of the cool things on this green one is we have a matching crystallized titanium pocket clip and backspacer on it, and it just looks excellent. I believe all of them have the bolster lock this time, including the titanium. Since that's a crystallized titanium, it's not matching the rest of the bolsters. If it were one piece of titanium, you'd get a frame lock there, but I think all 5 configurations actually have this bolster lock, which you have plenty of access to. Works really well, one shake to close. And so outside of that, we get the purple haze fat carbon. That was the first configuration I ever got in the Gunslinger Jack, and so definitely has the nostalgia factor. It's probably the most plain other version besides this one is the purple haze fat carbon. It's a lot more subtle as well, but it still has that pop of purple. Then you get the Black Ice Kieranite, which is insanely beautiful. It's got this really dark Kieranite with a little bit of shine to it, DLC coating on the titanium and on the blade itself, and overall it just looks really great. I may eventually pick that one up. I've been kind of slowing down on picking up knives while I figure out my storage solution. I had upgraded to a storage solution, but there's stacking up on each other now, and I got to figure out either get rid of some or find more storage or something before I start buying a bunch more knives. But if I do buy another one, it's definitely going to be that Black Ice Kieranite to stay complete on my Kieranite collection. Then we get the Greenland micarta, of course, and Shipwreck Camo Carbon, which is an SMKW exclusive, so that one obviously won't be on the Jack Wolf side or other authorized dealers, but will be available through SMKW, and that one looks really cool as well. And so all of those will be dropping Friday, March 14th. Now, worth noting, that's not going to be the next opportunity to get a new Jack Wolf. They're going to be at Blade Show Texas in the next week or so, and going to have a bunch of exclusives for the show, including an all-new locking model that I don't know that it's ever going to get a wide release or not, but it's the first American-made Jack Wolf. It's a fixed blade, so the second fixed blade model, and it's based off of the Vampire Jack. I think it's called the Vampire Hunter Jack or something like that. And so really cool looking fixed blade. I'm unfortunately not going to make it to Blade Show Texas. I was trying to go, but just didn't end up making it. And so I'm going to see if I can track one of those down. Most likely, I think it looks really, really cool, but hopefully they'll have some left over. Like I said, I don't know if they're ever doing a wide release on that since it is an American made version, but they will have those available at Blade Show Texas in the coming week, and that will be happening before March 14th. So if that's something that you want to pick up, obviously check that out there as well. Those are going to be available exclusively at the show. Maybe if there's leftovers, those will be sold on the Jack Wolf website in the future, but no guarantee of that. So if you have the opportunity to pick it up at the show, I would obviously do that. Let me know what you think of this configuration, this model. Which version is your favorite this time around? I think we get a bunch of really great versions. A lot of really similar ones in terms of that they're that ultra fancy, and I think will appeal to the same kind of demographic. And then you have your Greenland micarta and the purple haze, which are a little more subtle and earthy tones. I guess the purple's not super earthy, but definitely a little bit more subtle if that's what you're looking for. So kind of a nice mix there as well. But would love to hear which is your favorite and what you think about this model in general down in the comments. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, checking out some of my other videos. I'll help the channel out a ton, and as always, hope you have a great one. Take care.